Do you see now the difference in our power?
Virtua Fighter, I originally thought that it would not be able to stand up to Tekken, because in my mind I had an idea of what I wanted it to be, and funnily enough, I made a video, and based on the things I said in that video, is kind of what we ended up seeing in that little demo they just showed. And I now think that Virtua Fighter, if they continue down this road and they achieve what they're setting out to do, Tekken might actually have a real problem on its hands.
A lot of Tekken players operate as if Tekken can't be touched by Virtual Fighter, but we literally saw in the previous generation, Tekken 7 sold more than Street Fighter. It was for many different reasons. One, Tekken 7 was doing incredible. The word of mouth, the success, the reveals, the tournament. You could talk about the Pakistani, arc. It was so many things that pushed that game up. But you can also talk about Street Fighter pushing themselves down. The game was trash at launch. It got better as time went on, but it was too late at that point, right? Um,
Yeah.
and Tekken 8 is kind of doing the same thing right now. They're even if people are enjoying the game, because a lot of people say like, "Oh, I'm having fun. I'm having fun." Even if there is some people who's having fun, the fact that you have this like tornado of chaos surrounding the game, period, is limiting its growth. And if the developers don't address it, that will leave the door open for someone to swoop in and take all of that tornado, and turn it into something that the players want. And it's interesting that Virtual Fighter is selling their game as like, yeah, we're a real fighting game, real martial arts, because that's what Tekken players want Tekken 8 to be.
It's very obvious that maybe in like a friendly competition way, because I think they all know each other, but they're definitely taking jabs at Tekken. Everything they're saying is like things that you said, things I've said. I know people get annoyed when they hear me referring to Tekken as once being a grounded martial arts game, but that is very much what it was. It was mostly centered around martial arts, and then it had some anime stuff in there as well. Whereas Tekken 8 sort of tipped those scales a little bit. But the VF developers are catering to the void that has been left by Tekken, and I think it's a good thing because Tekken needs competition. It's only going to make Tekken better if they're able to achieve what they've showcased to us. Not only do I think that people that are saying VF has no chance are lying to themselves, I actually think that we could end up seeing what happened to VF back in the day, which was VF was the king of 3D fighters. It came out less than a year before Tekken 1, I think just under a year. It dominated the 3D space, and then Tekken 3 came out, and there was a complete shift. We might be going into an age where we're seeing that shift in the reverse.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And I know like a lot of Tekken players don't want to believe it, and I don't want to believe it. I would much rather that Tekken 8 just does good and I could just play this game and have fun. But with them struggling, or not struggling, with them like trying to, they're basically throwing away all of the people who, the audience they have, to bring in an audience. But we're looking at the door and no one's walking through the door, so it's like people are leaving. People are only leaving, and it's like, where are they going? They could go to Virtual Fighter, and Virtual Fighter, with not having any type of controversy, whether it be from the players or whether it be from the developers being greedy, trying to take down mods or selling stages, and like, it's not just the players being angry. Tekken, they removed a player from a tournament just because he's Chinese. Like, all of that stuff is impacting the trajectory that Tekken 8 is on. And you could sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, Tekken 8 is it's a great game and everything's great," but Virtual Fighter can swoop in and steal the thunder, and it happened with Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5. Like you're saying that it happened in reverse with Tekken 3 and Virtual Fighter. None of these games are truly on top, especially when they are, sabotaging themselves.
Yeah, well, this is what happens when you don't have competition. This is very much like when WWE took WCW out of business. There was no one there to really force them to do anything creative or push the envelope. Now Tekken's going to have a legit contender, and I do believe VF is going to be a legit contender if they can achieve what they showed in that demo, because everybody that has seen it had the same reaction. Everyone's jaws dropped.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "What the hell am I looking at? This looks incredible." Even my brother, who has no interest in fighting games whatsoever, even he stood there looking at it, going, "This looks incredible." So I think a lot of people are coping. I think it's kind of ridiculous to see what they set out to do. Even without that, and we just look at the gameplay trailer that was shown at the Game Awards, even that in itself has the dynamic blocking, and that already looks incredible.
Yeah.
It would be nice to exist in a world where they're both doing well, but usually when there's such an outpouring of support for one game that exists in the same space as another, it usually is down to the fact that the one that it was already existing in there is not doing what the fans want it to do. I do also think that we are gonna find out just how successful Tekken 8 is towards the end of season two, because don't forget these developers, they drop sales figures as soon as they hit milestones. And since Tekken 8 hit 2 million, we haven't heard anything, which I find really weird since MK1 and Street Fighter 6 were very quick to post when they got to 4 million. I'm a little bit worried for Tekken, I won't lie, but I don't think it's not a doom or gloom thing. I think it's just observing the landscape and seeing how the players are reacting.
Players like act like us sitting around waiting for 3 million copies sold is like a negative thing. Like it's just general concern. Like it's just like general like okay, like Street Fighter sold 1 million copies like 6 months ago. They're probably gonna announce it again. If they do announce it again, like oh we hit 5 million, and Tekken 8 still hasn't said 3 million. Like that's crazy, and that's a possibility because they hit 4 million like 5 months ago. So
Yeah.
I do, and there was like there's some people who people cope for everything. There was someone who was saying that oh they're waiting for Nina to come Anna to come out, or they're waiting for this, that's not true. Like they announce these things as soon as it happens because it's all about the shareholders, the share investors. The investors see that the game just sold another million, they're like oh what, that's my stock just went up. So there's no
Yep.
reason for them to hold out on this information because it's good for the game. It's the players celebrate, the developers can pat themselves on the back, the investors can invest more money, that they can ask for more money when doing the next update, which is season 2. So the fact that they haven't hit it means that they haven't hit it. And when you analyze why they haven't hit it, you could talk about gameplay. We don't have to talk about gameplay. There's enough of that already happening. But it's something that the developers need to um, take note of, is because the like basically like Virtual Fighter saying what the players want to hear, and they're showing stuff that's like really interesting. That's a recipe.
I think Virtua, now that they've shown that off and that's what they want to go for, I think that there is actually an opportunity to sell ridiculously well straight out the gate and really shake things up if Sega and RGG really utilizes their roster. Because Sega has Shenmue, they've got Yakuza, they've got all of this amazing music that has existed in Sega games for a long time, which you can use for a jukebox. I think if RGG takes advantage of Yakuza and Shenmue, because they have so many characters that just use basic martial arts in their games, and then you have your first guest character, because VF is probably going to have a guest character as well. All fighting games do, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think it depends on the guest. If you announce the game, you drop the roster, you've redesigned your existing cast like what they've done with Akira, and he looks really cool. And then you say our first guest is Kiryu. People are going to go absolutely mad because we've been asking for him to be in Tekken for years and they didn't do it. And now he's in the competition, and the competition looks like exactly what we want from Tekken. I think Virtua Fighter has an opportunity here to really like put a dent in the market share.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the other games that Sega owns. Sonic. No, I'm just
Oh,
joking.
Sonic. Oh,
Yeah.
no, hell
Nah,
no.
nah. Yeah, I'm
I
just
don't,
playing.
I don't mind his music in there. They put some Sonic music in there. I'm all for that. But
Yeah, yeah,
you can
nah.
utilize Streets of Rage. You can utilize Axel Stone.
Yeah, there's a
Uh,
lot of great stuff that they could tap into, and doing all
yeah.
of that. And that would be pretty crazy if they told Tekken no all these years because they had plans to do it themselves. Holy smokes. I think that, okay, I know Tekken players don't want Dragon Ball Z in Tekken. He doesn't fit, he flies, he shoots projectiles, but Bandai Namco's the only one who can use Dragon Ball in video games. So I mean, if they drop a Yakuza, virtual, Bandai Namco may have to go with the nuclear option. Get out of Bleach, get out of Goku, something. I
Well, the
think they
thing is,
should.
Bandai Namco, they own so many anime franchises. So I wouldn't do Dragon Ball because that's just gonna do more of the same. And this is coming from a basic. I'm a Dragon Ball stan, right? I love Dragon Ball, but I don't Dragon Ball being in Tekken, I don't think that's what people want. I think you look at your other anime franchises like Fist of the North Star or Baki or Kengan Ashura that are games that are centered around martial arts, and then you use that as an answer to VF, who is focusing heavily on this grounded martial arts rather than putting Goku and Vegeta in Tekken, and you just lean into more of the things that people hate about this game right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think there's many animes they could pick from, and they should definitely take a pick. I just the way that the reason why I always bring up like Dragon Ball is because it's literally Dragon Ball. I understand that the gameplay isn't the most suitable for Tekken, but like as a marketing, point, it's massive. But yeah, I do think there's many other animes and many other ideas that Bandai Namco can tap into, like I don't know. Okay, I'll say it like a Gundam. Like there's a lot of things that Bandai Namco control that has a lot of value, and Tekken. I say this. I say that Tekken should try to just make their game better, make the players happy. But if they can't do that, and if it gets dire, they may want to try to pull one of these popular franchises that Bandai Namco has ownership of or control of, and put that in the Tekken if they can. I don't know if they would allow something as valuable to enter in something so controversial. I don't know, but basically they have to do something. Is all that I'm trying to say. Like I want to be throwing out these crazy hail mary ideas if they were simply doing better. So really just do better, and you wouldn't need a hail mary.
Yeah, I'm interested to know how well Clive really did, because now the hype has died down. The conversation around him seems to be changing a bit. People start, I've seen frustrations about the character, which obviously in all fighting games that's going to come. But Clive's like, I think, is he like the most played character, or one of the most played characters right now?
Yeah, he's
And
he's the most played with the highest win rate, and the Steam
yeah,
reviews is mixed with everyone complaining about balance.
yeah. So the balance of him, I assume they're going to sort that out in season two, because I guess they went with the pay to win option. But I really feel like they need to look at Tekken's longevity and which character really fits the mold here. I don't think Clive fit, but he's here now, so whatever. If they put another Final Fantasy character in here, and I don't want Tifa in, don't get me wrong, I'm the last person that wants her in, but she's really the only one that makes sense at this point if you're gonna do Final Fantasy. And my problem is that there's clearly a relationship between Square Enix and Bandai Namco, and if they're doing another version of Final Fantasy VII, which apparently they are, I Tifa's not off the cards. I don't think. Which I think Tifa might be the only one you get away with. But if they keep on doing these magical characters, I think the initial hype will be great, and then when things settle in, you might struggle to retain players because you're just like, oh, I'm sick of this, man. This ain't the Tekken I remember. It was fun for 2 weeks, but I'm out.
I think you have to get one demographic and then completely jump to a next one. Like you do a character like Clive, which is like sort of this magical type of character, but then the next guest character you should do should be like a hard contrast to that, because you're just reaching in the same bucket over and over. There's only a limited amount of things in there. You got to completely, the whole idea of a guest is to get like crazy ideas. Like, even though Tekken 7 was like the guest characters is kind of controversial, there was a good variety between Geese being the actual fighting game character, Negan being from TV, and then Noctis being magical, right? So they should do more of that. Like, whatever TV show that they want to pull from, they already got the magical character, and then they should get like a fighting game character, and then season 4 or 5, whatever, we'll get there when we get there. But that's how they should be viewing it.
You do have to take risks with guest characters. I think within reason, so you don't bastardize the nature of the game that you're putting them in. But I'm gonna remain hopeful for season two of Tekken. Tekken's been around for a long time. They've seen the reaction to season one. Season one of most games these days is always shaky. I think that you call it the way you see it. I know some people don't like it; they just see it as negativity, but. There's no point in lying to the audience. It is what it is. Like, I think Tekken 8 is a good product. I just think it has some things that went sideways a little bit. But that's fine because it's the first season. Season two, I have no doubt will be better. Apart from what they might be doing with Heat, that running in and crouching business that we saw with Jin, I don't know about that, but maybe there'll be strong counterplay to it. So I'm hopeful, and I guess we'll just see.